Hello, hello, and welcome. My name is Cassandra Bell, and I am the host of Wise Woman Magic, the TV podcast specifically for wise women. Today, we have the amazing Suhani from Suhani Vaidya Consulting, and this is a great episode to show you what happens when two coaches get together. Please show your love and appreciation for Suhani and enjoy today's episode. Okay, well, welcome Suhani, and thank you so much for actually coming on our podcast. Wise Woman Magic is all about sharing our personal magic, our wisdom with all other women so that they know that one, they're not alone, and two, they can learn, and three, we love hearing about other women's stories so that we can also learn how to grow and empower ourselves as well. You know, when we share our stories, when we share our wisdom, we're actually sharing a part of ourselves, we're sharing part of our heart. And that's what we really resonate with, especially women, because that's where we work from, is from our heart. So, honey, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story tonight.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's an absolute privilege to be sharing my story with beautiful women like you and the women you have around you. So thank you so much, Kaz.
No, thank you. Oh, look, mutual appreciation already. Um, now it's really fantastic because you and I met through Nikki Thomas,
Yeah, that's right.
and I met Nikki through Katie Jane, and we've just recently caught up with each other through Katie Jane again, and
Yeah.
it's been a good year and a half, I think, hasn't it, or 2 years?
Oh, I can't remember. Maybe a year and a half?
Year
Oh,
and a half, yeah.
don't know.
COVID just completely throws it all out. And but what's really fantastic is that in the last 18 months, we have both grown so much and really
Absolutely.
taken on a role of leadership. And it's come from leadership and compassion
Yeah,
rather than anything else. So
absolutely.
tell me a little bit how you're leading at the moment.
So right now I'm working with professional business owners, helping them find their voice, speak their truth, step into their confidence and lead with influence. Well, I'm working with professional and business owners who have experienced some kind of trauma. When I say trauma, I mean something they've experienced either in their childhood growing up where they couldn't fully experience the emotions, they couldn't handle it completely, which has kind of scarred them to step into their ultimate potential. This is something that happened with me in the past, and now I've healed that part of myself, and now I'm helping others heal that trauma. It could be bullying, it could be abuse, it could be neglect, it could be anything. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Fantastic. So when we talk about how trauma affects us, especially trauma from maybe childhood, how does that actually impact our professional lives?
Well, we don't realize how much it impacts our professional lives, because what happens from a scientific perspective as well, trauma affects parts of our brain, different parts of our brain. Maybe it could be speaking our truth, or facing fear or anxiety, etc. That so let me take a step back. So what happens when we go through trauma is we have an event that happens.
Mhm.
I'll take a small example here, and it could be a baby in the womb, right? And mom comes to the baby, mom sees a spider, and mom sees and screams and says, "Oh my God, that's a spider." And that frightens the baby.
Yep.
Baby doesn't know what spider is, but all it could hear is mom's facial expression, her fear, and the way she screamed, and spider is the name. So that baby until that's trauma.
Yep.
That's trauma for the child. So until the child, even if they're 70 years old, they're still scared of spider and they don't know why.
Yep.
That's because of the facial expression, how they felt, and the emotions. The baby could not handle all those overwhelming emotions of what mom experienced. So it could be from that to bullying to any of that, to sexual abuse, you know. Trauma can be big or small, but and trauma can be anything for anyone.
Mm.
Like the smallest thing could be the biggest thing for them, and the biggest thing could be the smallest thing for them. So I think I'm running around in circles. What were your what was your question again, Kaz?
How does trauma? It is, but trauma is such a massive thing, and I think
Yeah.
I think it's actually important, and it's not so much running in circles, but I definitely think it's important because I think people compare trauma, and so therefore they negate their own trauma. So it's good, especially for women, because we get told all the time, "Don't be so silly. They didn't mean it like that." Or whatever it might be,
Yeah.
or girls always cry, so we're making
Yeah.
ones out of molehills, whatever it might be. But women do experience um, a downsizing or a downgrading of traumatic events. So
Yeah.
trauma to every single person is very, very different. And
Absolutely.
it's very different depending on the age as well and the
Yeah.
ability to take in the information, right?
Yeah.
So trauma though, and we don't realize sometimes that we have that. We
Yeah,
just
that's
think that
true.
that's life, especially if that's what your peers have dealt with as well. We just think it's life.
Yeah.
um, so it doesn't really matter what it is or how big it is or what. It's the fact that it's happened. But when it's happened and then it can affect our work life, our professional life, how how can that how can trauma affect the life? What's some of the bigger impacts,
Mm.
negative impacts, I suppose, on the workplace?
Um, I think trauma not only affects your work life, it also affects your personal life. It affects all areas of your life. But mainly coming from what I've experienced and with the clients I'm working with, say, for examples, I'll take an example of being bullied. So the clients I'm working with right now have experienced bullying growing up
Yep.
as children. So as children, we are, you know, we are the magical people. We have, it's like a white canvas, and you can paint the way you want. Um, and what happens is the experiences with parents, society, friends, family, etc. Um, good or bad experiences, whatever they experience, um, that creates either a beautiful, joyful state of being or a suffering state of being.
Yep.
So these these harmful experiences like bullying, especially as a child growing up, that shuts your I amness. That's your core of being who you are completely, because you were, say for example, that person was growing up really vulnerable and honest, and um, just open, and people start making start make funning fun of I do this often, start making fun of how they're doing or what they how they're being, etc. And that is a traumatic event because it starts affecting their self-esteem, their self-confidence, who they are, and there's a lot of shame and guilt around it.
Mhm.
So what they do is they think there's something wrong with me.
Yep.
And out of fear, they stop speaking up. So when such an event happens in your life, that's that's a traumatic event, like a big major event which affects your mental health, your being, your confidence. It affects a lot of areas. Now, we as human beings are meaning making machines. So, and we love collecting evidence, be it good or be it bad. So,
Mhm.
what happens is as we're growing up, we start collecting evidence. So, say for a person who has experienced something like bullying, they believe that speaking up is not a good thing. Every time I speak up, I'll be shut down, or an authority figure will shut me down. So, anyone who is in that authority figure, it could be parents, it could be teachers, it could be um, friends who have a really strong personality where this because this person feels powerless at that point of time. So when they meet those authority figures in their school, college, university, say workplace, and similar events repeat, it's not necessary bullying, but something triggers them. It could be the voice, the way they speak, they feel intimidated, whatever it is, it amplifies and it becomes a really, really big part because that part has been suppressed within us. So when this happens at workplace especially, you might be the best performer, you might be having, you might be making living the dreams according to everyone else. But in reality, your internal world, like the person's internal world, is quite fragile and, if I can say, broken in this context. Um, the reason being they haven't fully experienced that event and healed parts of themselves. And another way of expressing trauma is, imagine having a wound, okay, like a deep wound, and you stitch it up on top with a layer, and on the outside, it looks fine.
Yeah.
But in reality, if you don't go and heal that wound, like put medicines, whatever it needs,
Mhm.
then it's going to just decay within and it's going to cause a lot of issues. And that's what happens in the external world as well at work. So you can't speak up, or you are extremely angry, frustrated. You get triggered by small things at work, and you have miscommunication, or you can't communicate and express yourself fully at work, and that causes lots of issues between you and your boss or your team. And you take that stress back home, which creates stress, anxiety, and worst cases depression. So that's how it works.
And and then the cycle just continues.
Yeah, the cycle just continues, and you take that home as well. It's not just at work, with
That's
your
it.
friends, with your family, etc.
So a lot of people who are at work, who are high achievers
Mm,
without being leaders, the possibility, even if they want to lead, then they're finding it difficult because they find that there's that um, the past traumas
yeah,
are sitting in the way, aren't they?
yeah.
Especially because I know what I'm like. I'm a high achiever because it's one of those things that I have been taught since a child that if you're a high achiever, you get praise, you know,
Yes.
and
Beautifully
that's
said.
a big
Yeah.
thing, isn't it? And
Yeah.
but you also understand that if you're not, well, then you're going to get the opposite of that praise.
Yes, that's right.
Which can be traumatic if you don't understand the way that it goes. and
Yeah.
and it really is coming down to those formative years,
Yeah,
however it may have
absolutely.
been. So,
Yeah.
and I can imagine working with these amazing people who are probably high achievers and
Mm,
who have passion about what they do,
yeah.
and coming to you and just going, what the hell? How do I get past this? What do I do? So, how transformative, not just for them, but for their families and their workplaces and their businesses. And
Oh, absolutely. And when you were sharing what you did just now, it is so true. We as children get validated for being a good girl,
oh,
or being a high achiever. We never validated for, oh, well done, you tried. That's again fixed, and the growth mindset where we are appreciated for say for instance you were highly intelligent growing up, so you're constantly appreciated for being intelligent. You're never appreciated for the effort you put in, how you tried, and how creative you were. And I've changed that with my daughter. My daughter is a smart cookie, and I never say that to her, because I want her to learn, to be curious, to have that beautiful curiosity mindset, to have that learning mindset for the rest of her life, and just experience joy and bliss and enjoy life rather than just be the high achiever and get success and one day die.
That's it, isn't it? See, my mum brought us up, well, mum and dad, but I was brought up with as long as you tried your hardest. That's all we ask, as long as you try your hardest.
Mm.
And but I know even growing up, there was a little bit of frustration there because they knew that I could always do better.
Better, yeah.
But it was always, and even to this day, is as long as you tried your hardest, as long as you put your best forward.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. But I do love the idea. Of course, my kids are all grown up now, so it's a little bit different for them, unfortunately. But I love the idea of supporting a child to be curious,
Mm.
because especially my generation, we were told, our parents were working hard, and
Yeah.
we were sort of expected to behave and stay out of the way, sort of thing.
Yeah.
um, and I think that's probably still true to this day. I mean, we've got some amazingly hardworking people, and
Mm.
we do that so that we can survive, have a better life, etc., etc. And we sometimes sort of forget the kids and how they actually just need to be kids rather than well-behaved kids.
Yeah. And I see that happening everywhere.
Mm,
I was speaking to a fellow coach, and there was a point in time where I said, my daughter throws so many tantrums. And the other day we went zip lining, and she was really, I kept saying, stop stamping the foot because the sand is just blowing into my face. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. And my, my fellow coach said to me, she is throwing so many tantrums because she wants your attention. Have you thought of it that way? And I was like, yes, I have not thought of it, because we get so busy and bogged down into a work life and business or a profession or whatever, wherever we're working. We we forget that they're children,
that's
and all children needs, they're like 14 different needs of kids, and it's very simple. Just being heard, being seen, being validated for who they are, and being vulnerable, and all they need is acceptance.
yes,
And at times when Arya comes into my room and I'm working, all she needs is a cuddle. That's all she needs.
that's it.
And once she gets a cuddle, she's gone. But these are the things our parents, well, I don't know about you, but that's not something my parents grew up with, knowing the knowledge of what we have today.
That's it.
And they did the best they could. But telling her not to cry, or don't do this, don't do that, go, you have to listen to elders. I don't do any of that,
Yep.
because it's your choice and you have strong boundaries. What happened? Another reason I've noticed in myself when I did my internal work and with my clients as well, we don't have strong boundaries.
Mm, mm. That's huge, isn't it?
Mm.
Boundaries, and if yeah, I'm 100% on board, because boundaries mean everything. And
Yeah,
if we can teach our, especially girls and boys, if we can teach our kids self boundaries and why they're so important,
yeah,
that I think that's one of the greatest lessons that we could ever give them. Definitely.
absolutely. They, from a younger child, letting them have a say, and
Mhm.
letting them say it's okay and it's not okay. And that's not what we do growing up as well, because what we do is once, um, when I spoke to you about the I amness, the realness of the core, of the essence of who we are, and the trauma happens, and that's where the shame and guilt, that's another layer that's formed. And then the top layer is the crust. What that means is that's where we have our masks.
Mm-hmm.
Becomes our true self, which is not the true self. That's when we become the people pleasers, the heroes, the joker, the caregiver, whatever role we play, those are the masks we put on.
Yes.
And those are the masks we get validated over a period of time. And that's what we carry out in our professional lives too. And there comes a point where you've had enough
Yes.
and we start crumbling within and we start slowly taking off the mask, doing the inner work, and bringing back the I amness of being who we are at our core.
Yes.
And that's what I love as well to do.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I love it. I love watching people reconnect with that oneness.
Yeah.
And it's the reason why I do what I do as well, because watching people connect, even for a moment, it's like everything just lights up. It's like being in front of the sun, really.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's beautiful. Like recently, there's a client I've been working with, and he's amazing. Um, he he accepted parts of himself which he had denied for a long time. And just seeing him happy, his messages, his energy, the way he is showing up in every area of his life, just that thing lights me up. And that's why I love what I do.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. So, what got you into the business of personal coaching?
um, so I experienced I was quite unhappy. I was working in a role for a long time, which was more of a, process driven role, more
Mm.
of a transactional role. And I've always known I'm a people's person. And I love helping people. That's what lights me up. And that's always been the case. But I wasn't sure what to do. I felt so stuck in my role for a
Mm-hmm.
very long time, but I did nothing about it. I kept thinking, oh, I have my daughter, I get this flexibility, or I have my family, I need income, and this is not the right time. This is not the right time. I kept saying this, and it got to a breakdown point where at work I experienced bullying, and I lost my confidence. I had so much of anxiety and close to depression. I'd really hit rock bottom. I realized that there's something that has to change, because this feeling, how I felt, what I experienced in my external world is something I'd experienced in my previous um, career as well. And I thought, if something is repeating, it's not just external, there's something internally that needs to be changed. And that's when I thought, okay, let me go and do a different degree, because I want to help others. That's how I started off. I want to help others experiencing what I'm experiencing. I felt really lonely at that point of time, Kaz. I didn't feel like I can reach out to anybody. I felt nobody understands me. I just felt like I'm in a vortex of the whole world is against me, and
Mm-hmm.
nobody gets me, nobody understands me, be it my family, my friends, no one.
Yep.
And I just, at that point of time, I just wanted to help another Suhani
Yes.
who was experiencing that. I didn't realize that I needed help, right? So I thought I'll do a counseling degree or psychology or coaching. I wasn't too sure. Then I went to this workshop where they were talking about coaching. And once I attended that workshop, 3-day workshop, um, I saw one of my mentors, Joe Pane, who is a master coach, who This woman was sitting there with so low self-esteem and her head held down. In 20 minutes, I saw that woman. He asked her questions, and I don't know what he did. I thought he was magical at that point in time. He just, the smile she had on her face was so beautiful. I'm like, I want to be that. Whatever it is, I don't care. I want to be that. I want to learn how to be that. And as I started on my own coaching journey, I started my healing, my inner healing. And to begin with, I wanted to help others, but what I was truly doing was helping myself
Yes.
and healing parts of me which had suppressed for a very long time. And yeah, that was my point where I said, and I've always wanted, I love Steve Jobs, not all aspects of him, but parts of him where he does the Stanford University speech, connecting the dots. I don't know if you've heard what
I
he
think I've
says.
heard some of it, but yep.
Yeah. He says you will never connect the dots moving forward, but you always connect the dots looking back. So looking back, I know why things happened
Yes.
for me. I
Yep.
always used to think things are happening against me, but they
Mhm.
were for me to step into my ultimate potential, for me to help myself heal so I can help others heal themselves.
Oh,
So,
that's beautiful, and it's so so true, isn't it?
yeah,
We hear, especially in the coaching and the inspiration and the wellness industry, don't look back, always move forward. But you're missing lessons.
yeah,
You're missing, and I think it's been taken literally by so many people. And it's not that you don't look back, you don't stay in the past.
yeah.
You
What we
learn.
do though is, well, what I did, and I've noticed this pattern with my clients as well, is we focused on what happened to us, and we focused on the anger, the incidents, and that wasn't okay. Of course, it wasn't okay. It wasn't okay. But what we don't do is focus on the lessons,
Mhm.
focus on what we learned, who we becoming, what made us, what are the qualities we developed as a result of what happened, and who we become. And when we start focusing on the lessons, and then when the forgiveness happens, it's a beautiful gift we give ourselves and to everyone around us, be it our family, be it work, be it friends, anybody.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Definitely, definitely. I 100% agree with you. You know my story, and if I hadn't have gone through that time, there's no way that I would have as much compassion as I do now. Like the
Absolutely.
compassion for others is massive, um, and that's because of the I don't want to call them skills or traits, but I suppose they are a little bit. But the hyper awareness, that comes from
Mm,
anxiety induced from trauma,
yeah,
that sort of stuff. That I wouldn't give that up for the world. The hyper awareness, okay, that can make you a little bit overthinky, definitely, but
yeah.
the gift it gives, and knowing that other people, some, okay, being hyper aware and being able to provide, I don't know about you, but when I'm hyper aware, I notice small things about people,
Mm,
and so therefore I can give to that, I can support to that, and I find a lot of people actually respond very well, because then they feel like they've been heard and they feel like they've been seen, and it gives them that confidence, and it's fantastic. But it also works on the other way, that sometimes that hyper awareness, you do focus on something that is completely unimportant,
yeah, that's true.
you know but you
And
take the
yeah,
good with the bad, don't you? It's a lesson, it's learning how to use these new skills. So if you can look back on something, then
mm,
you can, like you say, connect the dots. You can find the patterns, you can find the cycles, you can find the lessons that
yeah,
will ultimately push you into being a much healthier and more shiny being.
yeah, much healthier, happier, fulfilled, the empowered, and the real authentic you,
Yeah.
which I think, well, I believe, this is my belief, I'm not going to put it on anyone else, which I believe everyone here come on this earth to do, to become their ultimate potential and
Mm.
to become whole,
Yeah.
to become one.
I'm right with you on that one. I completely believe it as well. We're
Mm.
here to be all that we can be or all that
Yeah,
we want to be.
yeah,
And we're here to really experience life. And that does mean um, all the other emotions that might not be so lovely and shiny. It does include depression, and it does include anxiety, and it does include anger and sadness and pain, and we're just not meant to wallow in it.
what we do generally is, this is generally what we do. Those are just emotions.
Mm,
Anger is emotion, sadness is emotion, guilt is emotion. All of those are emotions.
yeah.
We name them good and bad emotions,
Yeah.
and we want to experience and feel the good emotions, but we want to suppress and literally reject the not good emotions, the bad emotions. But if you look at it from a scientific perspective, they are just emotions. Emotions are there to experience. And when we don't fully experience them, that's when the issue happens.
Exactly, because our emotions are the signposts.
Yeah.
They're letting us know that we're being affected. How are we being affected? Why are we being affected? Even should we be affected? Like there's all these different things. And it's really funny because I actually said to my partner the other night, I am so angry. I said, and I'm angry at you. And he's like, oh, and I'm like, it's okay. I'm just angry. I'm not saying I'm angry because, for any one reason. I'm just angry.
Angry.
And I
Yeah.
need to express it. And
Yeah.
once it's expressed and it's out, then you move through it. And all emotions, like I say, they're just emotions, and you need to validate them just like you yourself need validation.
Yeah.
And
Beautifully
it
said,
has to
Kaz.
come
Yeah.
from yourself.
Yeah.
We're so used to receiving validation from outside sources
Yeah.
that when we've gone through the work, or well, not even if we've gone through, if we started the work, let's say, because we're continually learning, we're continually growing, but once we get to
Healing
that,
is for life. Yeah.
yeah,
The work is for life. Inner
it
work is for
is.
life.
Because if you don't, you become stagnant. And if you
Yeah.
become stagnant, what are you doing? Like it's not so fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely one of those things that you have to work through all the time. And when
Mm.
you can work through it, you empower yourself so
Yeah.
that you don't need those outside sources of validation.
Yeah.
And I think, and I'll ask you this. I know I didn't ask you this before, but I think um, as coaches, especially if you're a life coach, or business coaching is acceptable in
Mm.
the arena. Life coaching, maybe not so much,
Yeah.
but coaching is is so imperative, I think.
I truly believe, look, personally, it's changed my life.
Mm,
The person I was 2 years ago, everybody I've met, like all my old friends or colleagues or whoever they are, they're like, you are a different person. I just say that I'm the same person. I've just healed more. That's all.
yes.
Um, and it has changed my life personally, the way I relate with myself,
Mhm,
with my family, with my friends, with others.
mhm.
Has completely changed my world. And I absolutely love, adore, and believe in it because it's transformed my life. And that's why I'm a big, what do you call it? What do you name it? I'm really for coaching because it's transformed my life and it's transformed so many clients' lives I've worked with as well. So but what people don't understand is how valuable coaching is and how much it's going to make a difference in their lives, and they minimize life coaching, saying, oh, she's a life coach. What are you going to coach me on? What is a life coach?
That's it.
I think when you start taking yourself seriously, that's when you start searching for answers, you know. When we,
Definitely.
because we keep looking for answers externally, that next big shiny thing, or the next house, that next car, the next relationship is going to solve all the issues.
Hmm.
When your internal issues are solved, the external will manifest plentyfold. It's the internal issues we need to deal with. And life coaching has changed my life, and I truly believe it in every cell of my body that that will change other people's life too.
Definitely, definitely. I find it really interesting that a lot of people, even to this day, believe that life coaching comes down to like a hippie wellness type thing. And if people understood the amount of work, the amount of growth, it's not easy. If you
No.
if you step in, and it doesn't matter if you have a life coach or not, but if you have actually said to yourself and said to the universe, I need to learn, or I need to heal inside. It is hard. This they're not going to let you off the hook for this.
You know what? That's what I was talking to my husband, or I can't remember, my friend, I think. We were saying it's easier to go find that next job or be stuck in that job to get the dollars, or it's easier to learn a new skill. It's easier to freaking climb a mountain. But
Hmm.
it's hard to look inside and look at your inner demons and your dragons and slay them. Oh, that's the most difficult thing anyone can do. And that's why people are so focused in the external world. And it's easier to deal with the external world than dealing with their inner world. And COVID has really
Yes.
has really shown that.
Definitely, definitely. Well, I think people have found that it's much easier with the external world because there's a formula for the
Mm.
external world, be educated, get the job, get the money, get the thing,
Get
whatever it might
married.
be. Get
Yeah.
married. That's it. You usually don't have a great relationship unless you have, a job so that you can show that you're self-sufficient or self-responsibility. You're not going to depend on anybody, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. But what people don't realize is that it's a different type of dependence, and emotional dependence is very, very different.
Mm.
And they don't look at that sort of thing. They might go, well, I'm self-responsible, I'm self-aware because I make sure I have my job and I pay my way and I own my shit and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, what about the inner stuff? Well, what? You're an angry person. Like, if you're angry all the time, there's something going on here. So,
Yeah.
and it's really interesting because I think it hasn't been looked at, but like you said, COVID, and all respect to the people who are suffering due to COVID, whether it's because they've lost
Absolutely.
a job or because they've lost a person or they've been sick, or, they've had to, their connections and their networks have broken down, and they actually need that. COVID has brought us an amazing gift
Mm.
of time to reflect. Everybody who hasn't prior has been forced to do so in many, many ways.
Absolutely. And COVID has also, you beautifully put that, Kaz. COVID has really shown us, given an opportunities to see what is truly important for
Mm,
each of us.
definitely the
Yeah.
priorities. What
Mm.
is priorities? And I know a lot of people are losing, businesses and houses,
Mm.
and to be honest, I have so much compassion because I've been there. I've lost houses,
Mm.
I've lost businesses. I've been there and I get it. When your stability, and this is part of Maslow's hierarchy of
Mm.
needs, as well,
Yeah.
is to feel secure. And when your security is ripped out from underneath you, it is traumatic.
Yeah.
And again, this isn't just when you need somebody to actually hold your hand and go, it's going to be okay. We
Yeah.
just need to do the internal work to
Yeah.
show you that it's going to be okay.
Yeah. And honestly, when you start doing your internal work, this is something I've noticed in my own life. The moment I decided, opportunities started coming towards me.
Definitely.
All these years, I've been running after opportunities. Like, I want that next job, or I want to do this, and I want to do, and I every time I hit a brick wall. And now, when I started doing my internal works, that's when I'm getting opportunities without me seeking it out. So it's almost like you do the inner work, you'll be rewarded for what you do. The other way to look at it is the more you open your heart, the more you expand,
Yes.
the the more you can serve, the more you can help others, the more you can heal, and the more you attract your soul tribe, your kind of people who are there on the similar journey, who wants to make an impact, who wants that financial freedom, who wants to give back to the society, who want to give contribute to this world.
Well, and this is it, isn't it? It's an amazing thing. When when we do allow all that other stuff to fade away and we really come back to heart, we really come back to the inner self, and we do the work, and it's not that you have to be a perfect shining diamond or anything like that. It's just the fact that you are open to healing, to expansion, within the heart space, within the connection of energy and source. um, when you make that decision and you open yourself up to that, it doesn't matter if you are the shiny diamond or you're just opening, things will change. And
Yeah,
the more that you do the work, the more things will change.
yeah,
And and like you said, it covers every aspect of life. It just depends on where you're going to do the work too.
yeah.
So
And also, to add to what you just said, when you decide you
hmm,
want to do the work, that's half of the battle you've won.
that's it.
That's half the dragon you've slayed. Because you when I decided, when my clients decided, that's half of the battle done. All
That's
they
it.
need to do is find a person who can help you with it, and then just do the work. I'm not minimizing and saying just do the work, because I know it's not easy.
That's it.
But what I'm trying to say is, when you decide and you don't give up on you, then the healing will happen.
That's it. It's you've got it right in the head. It's the decision. When you make that decision, you change the vibration of you, basically. And it's like anything. I mean, even if we put it into the old type of context, back when you said, when you make the decision to work out and get fit, that's when it will happen. When you make the decision to quit the cigarettes, that's when it will happen. When you have got that deep down certainty, this is going to happen, this is the decision, nothing's going to get in my way,
Yeah,
that's when things start to happen.
yeah,
And it's the same with the inner growth. it,
yeah.
that's when it starts to happen. And I think it's a really fantastic thing that you and myself get to work with people who are making that decision to step up,
Oh,
not,
yeah,
not
absolutely.
for other people but for themselves.
Themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing this for now, Suhani?
So I was doing it part time. It's been maybe a year. I started my journey almost 2.5 years ago. So I'm almost 2 years into it, but full time since September last year.
Oh, fantastic. And when you transitioned, was that scary?
Oh, oh my God. You know, another thing about making decisions, and especially when you're working towards your purpose, you decide and there you go, boom, challenge, boom, challenge.
Don't I ever?
So, yes, it wasn't easy, because I went through a lot of ups and downs when I decided some time ago, and then lots of challenges happened. even in terms of my health, etc., etc.
Mhm.
But then I thought, that's it. I'm going to make a decision
Mhm.
and let's see what happens, because this is what I truly want to do. And what usually happens, Kaz, is fear holds us back, and fear is an illusion. I say this to my clients, and I help them, help them work through it when they are going through their process and when they're overcoming their internal challenges. But then we face the same, and the fear was what was holding me back to get into what I truly believe is my purpose.
Fantastic. And so since September, so what is that? 5 months, so nearly 6 months.
Yeah,
So is it one of the better decisions that you've made?
I think one of the best decisions in my life.
That's
I
fantastic.
just love what I do. I don't consider this work. I can work for hours, get lost in it, just enjoy. And that energy as well, that shift in energy is something I've noticed within my house, my relationship with my daughter, with my husband, with my parents. It's so different to being that old, miserable, unhappy person. So yeah, definitely,
Oh,
definitely.
I hear you. I hear you. That is fantastic. That is fantastic. So if you could share a piece of wisdom for our beautiful women, what would it be?
I would say you are whole, you are full, you're not fucking broken. Don't you dare listen to anyone who's saying that to you, and surround yourself with beautiful, empowering women who will lift you up, who will get you across the line, because you are bloody awesome and you've so got this.
Oh, that is fantastic. I love it. I love it. And I think as I was actually talking to one of my best friends the other day, and I said to her something that's really been resonating with me in the last few weeks, especially like I've had to take note of it for myself, but I wanted to share it with her because I wanted her to take notice of it as well, is that we are mirrors, and we
Mm,
all accept that we are mirrors. But when you are surrounded by such amazing people that you admire and that you love and that you just love being in connection with, you are the mirror and you are that person as well.
yeah,
So if you are looking around and thinking that your squad or your network is like the best, then you have to understand that you're not there by accident.
yeah,
You are there because you're there. You are on that same level. And sometimes we need to be reminded of that
yeah,
and really look at it. And I think that's fantastic. And a reminder, just like you said, everyone, ladies, you are awesome. It doesn't matter what you've gone through,
yeah.
you're freaking awesome. And you've
That is
got
so true. And you know what? It doesn't matter what you've gone through, because your
it.
past
Mhm.
does not define your future.
That's
You define your future.
definitely, definitely. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kaz.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
And
much.
well, thank you for spending our time. It has been absolutely fantastic. And as always, I love speaking with you, Suhani. And I have another question for you. Would you come back on a later date? Let us know how you're going.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to. I love when I talk to you, we speak for hours and we just lose time. We don't even realize,
I
I
know.
would absolutely love to come back.
Oh, fantastic. That would be amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Kaz. It was an absolute honor and pleasure spending this gorgeous time and space with you.
Thank you, my darling. You always make me feel so good. Oh, thank you.